Atheist Nomads, episode 273, Scapegoating with the Devil.
The podcast you're about to listen to includes cursing and talking about hoo-haws. Please be advised.
Welcome to another episode of Atheist Nomads. I am Dustin. Joining me is Lauren.
Hello.
And we have Mary with us.
Hello.
Hello, Mary. And Rocco.
Mary's now handling Rocco, and Lauren's handling
Rocco
Kylie,
handler.
so I guess I'll just handle the podcast. Cool.
The beer.
And my beer, yeah. I'm drinking Mazama Brewing Company's Quad. It's a Belgian dark strong ale. 500 milliliters at 9.3% alcohol, so I should be pretty good by the end of the episode.
Good and floppy.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah. Okay, so the title is Scapegoating with the Devil. It's if you aren't aware, the devil is the original scapegoat, sort of. It's one of those where there is a scapegoat as part of the Day of Atonement in the ancient Jewish tradition, where they would slaughter a lamb, put all the sin of the people on either the lamb or the scapegoat, and then the scapegoat gets released out into the wilderness to probably die.
Well, hopefully you put all your sins in it.
Right.
That can't be great.
And then Christians have associated that scapegoat as the archetype of the devil.
Oh, that's the horns and everything. Okay. Got it.
And yeah, that is part of where the horns come in. The devil's often portrayed goat-like because of that. And the 1,000 years of... And like Adventists really push this one hard because they believe that we are in the Day of Atonement now.
Ooh,
So
long day.
It's a really, really long day.
It's like a Monday.
Jesus has entered the temple. He's cleansing the temple. And once he's done with that, the devil will become the ultimate scapegoat and left to roam the silent earth for 1,000 years. So, yeah.
Which isn't that long compared to
However
how
long
this is lasting. Yeah, this day is lasting
Is 1,000 years
Since
like
that
actually like
starts-
eternity?
from...
Well, 1,000 years, which isn't that long if creation only happened 6,000 years ago.
Yeah, that I guess... So I'm
Okay,
saying no
so
matter
what day was
what your
atonement?
perspective
Did I
is
miss
on
that?
time, 1,000 years doesn't seem very quite long enough.
Yeah. The Day of
They
Atonement...
really lowballed that.
Right. I guess, though, if they came up with this when they thought the earth was only...
It's like a Dr. Evil doing it
Adventists
from a
still
million
think
to a
the earth
billion.
is young.
Right, but the idea originated when the earth was even younger. Than 1,000 years probably seemed like...
Oh, the idea originated as you put most of the sin on the lamb that you kill and eat, and you put the rest of the sin of the community on the goat and let it loose, because ancient people thought that you could transfer sin to animals.
Well, yeah,
Wouldn't
but we're
that
just
be
talking about the
nice?
1,000
Yeah, and I guess
years.
the 1,000 years just doesn't
We're
seem...
really getting stuck on this little detail.
Like, if you're going to have the scapegoat, the devil, roam the earth on his own for a while, I feel like more than 1,000 years would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Well, after that, he gets destroyed.
Oh, I thought maybe it was like one of those in between college and leaving home, self-discovery, backpacking Europe kind of thing.
No, not quite. And this is all part of the...
Rumspringer, the devil can do what he wants without repercussion for 1,000 years.
This is also part of the whole Adventist sanctuary doctrine, which that was the one class in the seminary that I actually withdrew from because I wasn't going to pass it. I had a 3.6, I think 7 at the seminary, and that one class I couldn't wrap my head around. The sanctuary doctrine is that insane. You're getting stuck on that one point. There are thousands of points
I was going to say that was more like
ridiculous.
1,000 points, but
Yeah, it is bad. So anyway, we had a little mini Dustin off the degree here with scapegoats. They're fun. Well, not really fun, but
goats are awesome.
goats
though.
good.
They're cute
Yeah.
and they taste good.
It'd be nice if it was that easy, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whenever you did something bad, you're like, let's just kill a lamb
There
instead
we
of go free in
go.
the forest.
You have a forest goats.
Conscience clean.
You don't let your kids go out into the forest.
So you
where there are goats.
barbecue the lamb and set the goat out into the birds of prey sanctuary.
God,
Yeah, there you go.
because that wouldn't decimate an entire ecosystem.
Probably
Adorably.
Well, especially if it's a young enough goat, the birds of prey would take care of it, or a coyote.
Baby goat.
Anyway, we're definitely into the weeds.
So are the goats.
We have been named one of the 10 top atheist podcasts by FeedSpot.
Yay!
FeedSpot is one of the companies that started as a replacement for Google Reader when that was retired a number of years ago. And I am linking to it. You can check it out if you want. I find their ranking kind of suspect, considering scathing atheists and cognitive dissonance aren't on the list.
Yeah, it's a bullshit. I think they're probably trying to get money out of us.
No, they just want advertising.
That's a form of money. They want something from us. It was like when I was in high school, I was chosen for an award for my photography. And what I didn't realize is that it was just a scam to try and get you to spend a whole lot of money to go to some Las Vegas conference. It was stupid.
Oh, this is one where I
did buy the award, though, which was a little crystal thing. It means nothing, but I still have it. It's a good paperweight.
They have a code that I can embed onto the website that will display the little medallion medal for being one of the top 10 atheist podcasts
Except
in
for these
2018.
guys.
Except for the actual top podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cute. It was a little pat on the back there. We showed up in Google search results. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And the app, the Atheist Nomads app that's in the Apple App Store and the Android or Google Play Store, I am going to go ahead and retire it.
Womp womp.
Nobody spoke up saying they want to save it.
Nope.
And so, yeah, it is going to be going the way of the dodo.
You only had 3 days till retirement.
So if you are using the app to listen to us now, be sure to subscribe in a general podcast app like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Podcast Addict, or one of the dozens, if not hundreds of podcast apps out there. We're just not going to have our own app since, spending 40% of our hosting money on 1% of downloads just isn't worth it.
No.
I guess it's time for our first break.
Oh, wow. Flew by. Well, that's because we were talking about goats.
Uh-huh.
That's fun.
Atheist Nomads is proudly brought to you by listeners just like you. You can find out how you can become a patron at patreon.com/Atheist Nomads. That's patreon.com/Atheist Nomads.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to get him to relax.
He won't.
I feel like we'd both be happier if he just laid down for a snuggle, but...
We're talking about Rocco, not Dustin. We had a snuggle last night, kind of. We watched Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Because the guy that Coors was named after, he died at 102. So I'm like, hey, Reynolds also died recently. It's a 2-for-1.
Yeah. All right, we still have the contest going on.
Holy crap, Oli, we have a contest.
If you donate money to the show to help fund our upcoming equipment upgrades like Randy did, then you will be entered into the contest. If you are a patron, especially new patron, like Freethinker215, actually, all patrons are going to get treated the same in this.
What? Come on, throw Freethinker a bone. Nar.
Thank you, Freethinker, for your support. Thank you, Randy, for your support. You're both entered into the contest.
Woo!
As are all of our other awesome supporters. And the contest is one signed copy of The Trouble with God by Chris Matheson. Will be going to a random donor or patron, and one copy will be going to the person who gives us the most.
Who's in the running so far? Pretty much Randy, right?
No, Fred is currently in the lead.
All right, go Fred.
And so let's go ahead and move on to the news. Quebec's incoming government, because they just had elections, has announced a new law that they plan to enact that would prohibit the wearing of religious symbols in the workplace for any civil servants. This will apply to judges, police, prosecutors, and teachers. This means that they can't wear crucifixes, yammakahs, hijabs, or any other religiously identifiable clothing or decorative items. However, this does not mean that the giant crucifix above the speaker's podium in the National Assembly chambers will be removed, because that's historical, not religious.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so when I first heard this, I was like, hey, yeah, all right, yeah, you're right. Teachers shouldn't be wearing crosses and stuff. And then I thought, oh wait, this is just to get Muslims to shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Pretty
I'm like,
much,
wait,
yeah.
no, this isn't about secular rights. This is just about, dissing on people you don't agree with.
For sure. And I feel like whenever they do any of these blanket, no religious symbols, really what they mean is the hijab, because the rest of them aren't noticeable. I mean, think a cross, you just put it under your shirt. Like, nobody's going to notice a little necklace. The only one that you can see is going to be the hijab or, another head covering of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, even the yarmulke is like a stretch. I mean, come on. This was purely to target Muslims, and that sucks. But
Oh yeah.
Well, and I also feel like leaving the crucifix up opens them up to a lawsuit from one end or the other. Like, I feel like it's not very good planning on their part. They didn't think that through. Yeah, somebody's
like,
going to say,
no religious symbols. And what about that behind you? Oh shit. No, that's historically relevant.
Yeah, any non-Christian public servant who wants to wear a religious symbol is going to have grounds for a lawsuit just right off the bat.
Yeah, but if that was a crescent and star behind him, that would have been torn down, I'm sure.
And what's interesting here is like the CBC interviewed a Muslim woman who is a teacher in Quebec, has been for like 20 years. She started wearing the hijab when she was living in Algeria. When she turned 18, she decided to wear a hijab. She has said that the wishes of her husband would not change her decision. If he told her to stop wearing it, she would continue to wear it. And if the government tells her to stop wearing it, she is going to continue wearing it, even if it means she gets fired. Now, she will hopefully sue because that is bullshit. This is her personal choice for modesty based on her.
Let's ask a ton of women to strip for the government.
And so does it say specifically religious symbols? How is it worded?
Clothing, right?
Because if it's, I mean, you could argue the hijab is not
a symbol
like the cross is or other items. I mean,
I think it's
like you
more
said,
generic.
I think
you're talking clothing and symbols. Clothing including necklaces or
and you the wording is symbol.
So if you say it's somebody's personal choice for modesty, right?
Yep.
You could equally compare that to the Mormons wearing garments, even though you can't see them. They're wearing clothing that covers certain parts of their body for religious reasons.
Or the Mennonites,
how is this different?
The women that wear the cap.
Mm-hmm.
That's or if not necessarily a symbol. That's just that was fashion from 100 years ago, and they kept it.
Yeah, but if your religion dictates that you have to wear something that goes to your ankle for modesty, that's not a religious symbol.
Yeah, is a high collar shirt going to count?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I've just been really sensitive to it ever since that woman was basically forced to strip on a beach because she was wearing a head covering. It's like, no, you cannot make a woman bare skin just because you're offended by
she was wearing
a religious background.
She was wearing a burkini.
Yeah. Just because it's associated with a specific religion, you can't dictate
pisses me off.
to a woman what level of clothing or how much clothing or what level of modesty they should adhere to. Yeah, it's whether you make that choice based off religion or not, it's still your choice. It's completely harmless to the world. It's not hurting anybody. So
yeah,
and I mean, just like imagine the Mormon comparison. If we were like, sorry, tank tops are required at this school, you can't wear your garments. Like, people would throw a fit.
Mm-hmm. And that actually is something that could come up with sports, and it does come up with sports. Basketball uniforms don't leave enough room for covering Mormon temple garments.
This is related. Have you seen Mormons are really willing to push that standard aside if it means making a few bucks?
Yeah.
Like, have you seen the BYU cheerleaders? They dress like every other college cheerleading, but BYU Idaho, they wear knee-length sweats underneath their cheerleading outfits and cap sleeve. But BYU is a bigger college. They don't want to look like a bunch of weirdos on national television. So for Mormons in sports, I think it would be less of an issue. But
this isn't for Mormons. This is
if we're talking about people who wear the hijab or other headscarves or coverings.
Well, and like
that is an issue.
There was one teacher they talked to who he's a gym teacher. He wears a crucifix. He's not sure when this goes into effect if he'll be allowed to just tuck it under his shirt. You and I have even discussed workplace etiquette. If it's tucked away, who cares? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, if it's not visible. But I don't even care if it is visible, as long as it's not
offensive and you're not proselytizing.
Right, as long as you're not promoting it or pushing it.
Offensive is a tricky standard because everything's offensive to someone.
That's true.
So if it's...
Most religious symbols are not inherently offensive. I can see people do wear necklaces that have offensive things on them.
I find the thought of putting a symbol of execution up in hospitals highly offensive.
Yeah, that's pretty...
It's a symbol of death.
Especially when they paint the blood on the crucifix. It's like, oh, that's morbid. Yeah. I'll take the lady with the pentagram any day.
And Pope Francis is back in the news. He's still trying to figure out how to respond to the ongoing crisis of people finding out about priests raping children. And I'm pretty sure that's what he thinks the crisis is that people have found out.
Yeah, it's not the actual fiddling of kids. Yeah. It's
So last month he asked people to shut up about it.
Literally.
Now this month he's blaming the divisions in the church caused by this, i.e. people demanding that he do something. He's blaming this on the devil, and he's asking Catholics to pray to St. Michael to protect them from the devil.
So just to be clear, he thinks that the devil has exposed this, but not that the devil has caused the priest to do this? Is that his way of thinking? Or
that's unclear as to how much he thinks the devil's behind.
Well, he knows that it's not.
We learned.
There we go.
The devil's the scapegoat.
Ding, ding, ding. Mary wins 10 points.
See how I put the dots together, you guys?
That was good. No, he's at his lowest popularity since taking over, and it's just going to keep getting lower.
Now, he has he's fired one cardinal, and he just fired 2 priests in Chile.
And I saw this, and I saw that the article I saw was like, in praise of Pope Francis. And I was like, that's literally the bare minimum. He did what any decent person in a position of power like that would do, but he did it as few times as he could possibly get away with.
I really think that if he starts firing people, it's all going to come back on him. Because he moved people around.
Yeah.
He knew that this stuff was happening. He was complacent, but he's the Pope, so he can't fire himself.
Well, and seems to be putting the standard at there is no denying that exact priest fucked specific children. The cardinal had irrefutable charges against him, and with both of these priests, there was no getting around it. So they are being laitized, defrocked, put back into the laity, and will be facing prosecution.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
That was like, but they handed it over to civil.
They published enough details with it that the authorities will have no trouble.
They don't have a choice.
Arresting them. Yeah. But Pope Francis also rejected the resignation of all 34 bishops in Chile who had offered their resignations because they're all guilty of either fucking children or shuffling priests who fuck children.
Right, because I think it would come back on him, and he doesn't want to get arrested. He doesn't want to lose his popiness. He's covering his ass.
He knows that if he starts going after anybody for cover-ups, that there will be no one left to run the church. It is the entire hierarchy that is guilty here.
I can't, and it's sad that, the modern day Catholic has to just sit back and basically just wait.
But the modern day Catholic knows exactly what you're saying, that if you start punishing every single cleric in that church that has participated in this in one way or another, the church will collapse. So why are there any Catholics left?
Yeah, right?
That should be enough for all of them
that
to
makes
leave.
every Catholic complacent to all
You don't
of
have to
this.
leave like religion. You can still be Christian, like, but
Reformed
you think
Catholics,
that
something.
that level of corruption, we're not just talking about like money laundering type of corruption. We're talking about rape and rape of children corruption, where everyone seems okay with just covering it up.
Mm-hmm.
So how is anyone still a Catholic?
Yeah.
Especially since the religion itself is tied into the hierarchy. There is no saying, oh, well, I don't follow this particular leader, but I'm still Catholic. It's like, no, that's not how your religion works.
Right, because they believe that each person called of God, right? So
Oh, no, the Catholic Church is all about the one person.
but that one person is called of God. Doesn't he put all those people below him in those positions, right? So this person is called of God, inspired of God. How did God know he was putting rapists in these? Like, how do you reconcile that?
You can't.
Like, God
so
thought
you just ignore it.
I guess that has to be the only option. So if you think this person is the mouthpiece of God and he puts rapists in positions of power over children, and he puts people who are willing to cover it up in positions of power, and that's all inspired of God. That seems,
God's a douche. I mean, we never denied that, but
I would suspect attendance rates at Catholic churches had another big drop. Granted, it's maybe 10% of Catholics that actually attend church on any given week.
that's true. That's
Most of them only show up for Christmas and Easter, and that's going to hurt them, especially since the less people show up, the less they're going to be giving in tithes and offerings.
that's the real clincher, is who's giving their money to these people.
But
If you're still paying tithe, ugh.
there's also very large and powerful Catholic organizations that are condemning the Catholic hierarchy for their failures, abuses, and criminal behavior. That is encouraging to see. If organizations that actually have clout can do something, that might cause a little bit of reform.
Even if it is 10 years too late, 20 years too late.
This should have all
1,000
happened in
years too
2002 when the Boston Globe broke the story. 2002.
Yeah. Maybe in 22 we can have a celebration of 20 years of...
We've reached the point where the sex abuse scandal is old enough to drive.
Oh, after getting fucked by a priest.
Uh-huh. Oh, it's actually reached the point where it's too old to get fucked by a priest.
Womp womp.
Man.
Unless you're on LSD, then they just fuck each other, apparently.
Oh, wait. That was
what the local priest got busted for. Well, one of the things he got busted for.
Yeah.
Child pornography and drugs.
The one here, the like 70-year-old
Yeah.
guy that's...
Yeah, and there was another cardinal or bishop who resigned before getting fired because the story was starting to break that he was fucking seminarians. Nobody cares. He can fuck as many college students as he wants. Yeah, that's still a horrible abuse of power, but at least they're adults.
Sumerians?
Seminarians.
Oh, okay.
I heard Sumerians too, and I was
Yes.
like, so let's clarify some stuff right now.
Okay, because either this is
Seminarians.
one
Seminarians.
really
like
old
that is fine. Like
priest.
that's all consensual adult sex stuff.
Probably.
And for some reason, there's this little part of me that's like, I think people might end up caring more about that. Like, I hate to say it, but like
Maybe
a consensual sexual relationship that's outside of the norm of the Catholic scandals, like that might shake people.
Well, and it's still questionably consensual because it was a bishop with his subordinates.
Right. Yeah. And there's always definitely a
But people get more
chance
pissed
of-
off about
of an abuse of power.
homosexuality than they do about kid fiddling. It's like, it's so grotesque that they can't think about it, so they just don't.
Yeah, this would be the equivalent of a regional manager hooking up with management trainees. Which
I'm sure there are bunches of regional managers who are all high-fiving themselves
which
right
that
now.
does happen all the time.
Why don't they just like
Burn it down.
change the doctrine that says you can have lots of sex with adult people?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they want to do that, like just you have the power. You've got the mouthpiece of God up there.
Well, it would require acknowledging that priests can't live up to the Catholic ideal of celibacy.
Yeah.
They can't acknowledge that.
but also, so we were talking about where like this has been a problem for a long time. It's been out since 2002, but this is like the child abuse thing is like it's deeply rooted in the Catholic Church. You can go back to the like earlier days of the Catholic Church and find like writings and stuff about Catholics getting together like in the clergy and having naked children popping out of cakes and stuff like that. It was a part of their culture. And then it became a little bit less accepted. So it got quieter, but the culture didn't change.
Yeah.
So if they want to change the behavior of the clergy, change the policy, make normal, healthy, adult consensual sex okay.
Right.
And stop sweeping the shady stuff under the rug.
And what's crazy with it was
it's historical.
Up until the actual priestly celibacy thing didn't mean priests couldn't have sex until 1500s. There was a pope there were popes in the 11 and 1200s who moved into the Vatican with their mistresses and children. Because,
one big happy family.
Yeah, big happy family. The only rule was that priests couldn't get married because the Catholic Church had too much land. They were already a shadow government. Making any of those lands become heritable was something that the secular rulers couldn't handle.
Yeah.
So the rule was priests couldn't marry because
they
priests couldn't have heirs.
Yeah, the wealth and everything needed to be passed continually back to the Catholic Church.
And that was to avoid the church becoming incredibly corrupt. Happened anyway.
Womp, womp.
But that rule changed to the expectation of priests being celibate. The rule could change back.
Yeah.
But that would just be admitting that they were wrong for thousands of years. And
hundreds It's at this point, Catholic Church is arguably about 1950 years old.
And Catholicism, as the average person understands it.
And 6 months and 3 days.
But Catholicism, as the average person understands it, would unravel, and it would be admitting that the mouthpiece of God was wrong for however many years. And I just don't think that anyone's going to be willing to say we got something so like important to the doctrine wrong for that many years, no matter how beneficial it would be.
They did.
I think it's a pride thing.
They did in the 1960s with Vatican II. They finally allowed Mass to be said in the local language.
Yeah.
After 1,800 years of Latin, and Latin exclusively, they finally allowed it in local language. That was huge. At the same time, they actually allowed the Bible to be printed in the local language. That was big.
Yeah. I think we should just go straight to Alanis Morissette and hear it straight from God's mouth. Dogma, the movie Dogma, people, come on.
But we aren't done with Satan getting blamed for stuff. During the Mormon Church's Journal Conference earlier this month, Dallin Oaks, first counselor in the first presidency, said that, quote, Satan seeks to confuse gender, to distort marriage, and to discourage childbearing, especially by parents who will raise children in truth. Our knowledge of God's revealed plan of salvation requires us to oppose many of the current social and legal pressures to retreat from traditional marriage or to make changes that confuse or alter gender or homogenize the differences between men and women.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the quotes from the LDS Mormon, Latter-day Saint, whatever you want to call them now.
Not Mormon.
Leaders that were basically, we will never change our mind about Black people having the priesthood. We will never change our mind. This is deeply rooted in our doctrine. It's deeply rooted in Christianity. And this is just how it's going to be forever until things culturally and socially shifted. And they had to do it to stay relevant. This is the same thing. Give it another 5 years, and they're going to get some revelation from God that says, we wanted to wait till society caught up before we blah, 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 which is bullshit because the Mormon church is always dragged kicking and streaming behind everyone else socially. It's not.
Oh, yeah.
If they were the true church, they would be on the forefront of social change if they were the true church. But they'll change their mind in the next 5 years. I can guarantee it, because they went from me in my mid-20s hearing them say that homosexuality is a choice to me in my late 20s and them saying, yes, people are born gay. We still don't, but you still have a choice in your actions, basically. And if you can do that in 3-4 years, another 3 or 4 years, and it'll be,
okay.
This will be they'll bury this quote.
Yeah.
But this specifically targets gay marriage, targets trans people, non-binary people, and the whole women's rights movement.
Well,
yeah, the women getting priested.
Yeah.
Or just women having
rights.
Equal pay, not being discriminated against. Maybe even just women not getting raped.
Well, yeah, but they're just women.
Right. This is...
They're just the baby makers. Women get to have babies. That's what they get. But, yeah. No, that's... I agree with Mary that we're going to look back. They're going to look back and laugh. Say, oh, I remember those days. The church had to admit that they were wrong.
They won't admit it. They'll just quietly shift policy. And that's what they'll say, because this is what they've done before, is they say, when we said that, it wasn't doctrine, it was just policy. But at the time, they didn't clarify that. They didn't say that this is policy, not doctrine. They wait until things change, and then they claim it was doctrine. I'm like, well, or that it was policy. And I'm like, well, how can I trust anything you say if you can shift it from doctrine to policy or policy to doctrine in a whim?
Yeah, and there still aren't a whole lot of black people who are Mormons for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, they are still treated like shit. So even that hasn't really sunk in.
Because there's just, I mean, you could like pages and pages and put a book together of
I just
racist
think it's
quotes
so
from
funny.
the church from the 75 and before, just horrible things. And this just falls in that category for me. This is just the new thing they're choosing to make a big deal out of it, and because they're fighting social change. And
I just think it's funny that
well, the Adventist Church is doing their own fighting change. I'm going to just read a couple of headlines from Spectrum magazine. Oh, this is all based on, they had their annual conference where the heads of each of the divisions and the executive committee of the general conference get together and vote on major procedural things for the world church that falls in between the general conference that happens every 5 years. And so at last year's annual conference, they ended up tabling it as to the specifics, but they did decide that there would be policies enacted the next time to bring the rebellious conferences on the East Coast and the West Coast of the U.S. that are ordaining women. They voted on the, quote, unity document, end quote. It passed. There were some definite anomalies with that, like it was going to be a secret electronic vote, and then right before the vote was going to be taken, Wi-Fi died. So they had to do a show of hands so that everybody could see. And then as soon as the vote was done, all of a sudden the Wi-Fi was back on. That's a little weird.
That's
shady.
not a little weird. That is straight up manipulation of the system.
The sermons they were having before it, leading up to it, were on how only men should be ordained and how the church should be united and follow, God's will is as demonstrated by the vote in the General Conference. Now, the General Conference session actual vote was that there would be no change in policy. The conferences and specifically the Columbia Union, which is kind of the Mid-Atlantic states, and the Pacific Union, which is California, Arizona, Hawaii, they are interpreting that as meaning keep doing what you're doing. And the entire rest of the Adventist Church is interpreting that as don't ordain women. But the vote was specifically no change to policy. So that was odd. So anyway, this unity document is going to create a unity council that will be reviewing the actions of these rebellious conferences and recommending back to the executive committee on what they're doing. Conceivably, this will allow for the executive committee to be firing leaders that are continuing to or are allowing women to continue to be ordained pastors. So Spectrum magazine is kind of the more liberal Adventist publication. One article written since it, headline, should the church in North America be independent from the General Conference? That's talking about a split that actually I'm kind of predicting is going to happen. Next, North American Division Ministerial Association leaders issue statements on annual council vote. Next up, a message from the executive officers of the Columbia Union Conference. Please be assured that this vote in no way changes the status or calling of women in ministry as pastors, elders, or in any other leadership role.
So, okay. Sorry. I heard a whole lot of bureaucracy for one. It all started to just turn fuzzy.
So 2 parts of the Adventist Church are ordaining women.
Yep. And they think that they could just keep on doing it because that's what they've always done. And the policy didn't say they could do that in the first place, so they're going to get fired.
The policy said they couldn't do that. What's interesting is when push comes to shove, are they going to actually fire the leaders in these areas and risk a split in the church, or are they going to go easy on the source of all of their money? The Columbia Union Conference covers the DC metro area and New York. The Pacific Union Conference covers California. That's where all of the church's money comes from.
They're going to choose money.
Always choose money.
That's across the board.
I mean, it's going to split sooner or later, but I don't think it's now.
They'll always pick the money. Every single time.
Those conferences have had a ridiculous amount of power for a long time because they have all of the money. The Adventist Church has 21 million members now. It's reached the point where fewer than 5% of members are in North America. The fact that North America still has all of the power isn't going to last forever. And as soon as that ends, assuming there are still any white Adventists left in North America, they're going to try to split off. It's crazy.
Yeah. But such is church politics.
Anyway, let's go ahead and take a break, and then we have the last of the news. We love hearing from our listeners. You can email us at contact@atheistnomads.com, tweet us at atheistnomads, send us a message on our Facebook page at facebook.com/atheistnomads, or better yet, call us and leave us a message at 541-203-0666. We might even play it on the show. You can also help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcast directory of choice. We did get a handwritten note from Randy with the money. Thanks, folks, for your work.
Aw.
It's not often I get to read paper on the show.
There we go. That's awesome.
Yeah, and we do have a new way to contact us. I finally created an account with SpeakPipe, and there is a link on the left-hand side of the page. You can click on that and record a up to 90-second message. I'll get emailed a notification with that and can just play that on the show. You don't have to call in. You can just click the button and record right from your computer, or I think your phone even.
Cool.
Yeah. And in the Xinjiang Anonymous region in China, which we keep on talking about as this story keeps on developing, they have now passed new legislation with the stated claim of fighting extremism. What it will do is allow for promoting religion, expanding halal beyond food, wearing a hijab or a strange beard to be grounds to send people to vocational skills and education training centers. Basically, this is legislation to cover what is already in place, which is sending Uyghur Muslims to re-education camps that are already holding a reported 1 million people. This is all based off of vague reports from people who have either managed to escape from these camps, who have been released from these camps, or who have been watching their families disappear. And it's only the ones, they're only getting the news from the ones that are actually making it over to Kazakhstan.
Just let people live their life. Yeah, it's not hurting anything. I also I don't want this to come across as insensitive, but I don't love anything enough to be sent to a re-education camp over it. And even when I was Mormon, even when I was in Mormonism and we'd talk about it and they'd be like, you know, what would you do if someone said you couldn't be Mormon anymore? I'd be like, I'd probably stop being Mormon. If it meant my life or my world. And I'm not saying it's right. This is absolutely abhorrent and terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't imagine.
Yeah. Well, and
I don't know.
They're at least not going as far as banning halal food, which personally I think would be a justifiable thing to do because halal slaughter practices are absolutely horrific.
I don't know anything about them.
Slitting the throat of a live animal and letting it bleed to death. Same as kosher. Halal at least takes it to the point of you're slitting the throat with a sharp knife or sharp rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty grotesque. But this is like buying halal toothpaste is enough to get you sent to one of these camps. That's insane.
It is insane.
Man.
It's scary. It's scary that is happening so easily without it being front page news. And I think it makes you realize how easily that could happen anywhere, including here, for whatever reason. Like I joke about not loving anything enough to like go to a re-education camp, but I do have my beliefs and things that are important to me. And how close are we realistically to being in a situation where a group in this country is discriminated against
and sent to concentration camps?
Yeah, I mean,
that's happening.
Yeah,
that's already happening.
Who are you referring to? With
the immigrant detention centers.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's already a large group of people, possibly into the millions, that are being held in concentration camps scattered throughout the United States. They're being targeted for not having the right paperwork. China is specifically trying to actively destroy a culture.
Well, I would say there is the one difference, though, is that in China, you can change what you believe. You can't change like who you are. If you are a brown person, there is nothing you can do to reduce your risk of being put in one of these concentration camps, right? Or one of these,
other than leaving the U.S.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's because you're brown, and is why you're getting put there, and that's unchangeable, and arguably because you broke the law, but it's really because you're a brown person breaking the law. Whereas in China, it is a belief, which is changeable. And I'm not saying they should have to. It's terrible that it would happen to anybody, but it is scarier that it could happen to someone for something that is not changeable.
Yeah. Now, China has been systematically moving people into this region enough that when it was established, Uyghurs made up almost 100% of the population. And by when it was established, I mean, like, when the Xinjiang Autonomous Region of the People's Republic of China was established. So not that long ago. The Uyghurs are now a minority. Han Chinese are the majority ethnic group now because they have been systematically moving people in to make sure the majority population is loyal to the Chinese government and are properly Chinese. They can further weaken the Uyghur population there by targeting what they can call dangerous, which is their Muslim beliefs. And this is nuts. It is absolutely nuts. And it's sad that the media is so preoccupied with Trump that stuff like this just gets ignored.
Yeah, this should be a huge story. Like I said before, this should be something people are talking about.
Yeah, the BBC is at least covering it. But if it's just the BBC, and, in the American news cycle, nobody follows the BBC because it's Fox that everybody's having to try to respond to.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And this is going to keep happening until that region that should not be a part of China should, by all appearances, be a part of China, because that's China's goal. They want everything in their empire to be consistently and homogeneously Chinese.
The modern colonization? Well, not even modern. People colonized like that for a long time. It's just, they don't, I guess the modern Western world doesn't expect genocide to be a part of that, but it is.
The Soviet Union did it plenty, which is why they're now able to expand their borders into areas that weren't part of Russia. And by they, I mean Russia can expand their borders into what's not Russia because, they made sure they shuffled people around enough to make sure that Russians were the majority population in as many areas as possible. China does the same thing. They don't ever want Tibet or the Uyghurs to have their own country. In Kenya, they've got a new tourism boom that just keeps rising. This is predominantly fueled by tourists coming from Europe, and it seems like especially Italy, to visit witch doctors.
Oh God, I saw this headline. Yeah, this is so there's a word for it. Cultural appropriation to like the nth degree, where white rich people go to an African nation to fully immerse themselves in the experience, and it's just like, no.
It's less appropriation, more like cultural voyeurism. Like, they're not trying to claim it as their own. It's like they want to go watch it. They like, and I'm not like saying experience it, because that's different. Going to other cultures to experience it can be really healthy, but going to watch it in that voyeuristic sense.
In the case of Elizabeth Lucieri, visited the witch doctor Sidi Baya, and according to the witch doctor, Lucieri's neighbor in Italy had cursed her, so she went to the witch doctor. The witch doctor told her that she knew what was ailing her. It was the evil spirits, was why she couldn't sleep, and it's because her neighbor had cursed her, and she gave her the potion to cure her.
Or kill her neighbors. I find the root of the problem and take care of that, right?
Yeah. Now, according to Lucieri, after this treatment, she feels that she's healed.
Of course.
Well, the mind is very powerful.
The way she knows she's healed is she went 3 days without bad dreams.
Okay, woo!
A vacation might also help with that. Yeah, they're going to the beach in Kenya, and I can't tell if it's tourists are going to Kenya for the witch doctors, or if they're going to Kenya on vacation and witch doctors are taking advantage of them.
Well, either way, it legitimizes witch doctors, which has been kind of a not good thing for like the entire continent for the past little while. Like, that's why Ebola was so bad.
Witch doctors are the practice of the witch doctors is contributing to the wholesale and widespread slaughter of albinos
or any other person that they can claim as a witch.
Yeah,
Anyone that's different.
Yeah,
is basically.
I
saw when I saw this, I didn't see it as people going there to seek out witch doctors. I saw it as people going there and like kind of having like a fascination with it and participating in it, and whether they think they got something out of it or not understanding what like typical not understanding the negative repercussions. Yeah, it could have. Like,
it's just
this is a fun little vacation thing. Yeah, isn't this? I did this. Show your friends. I did this really fun, fun, silly thing. Exactly. Or I did this thing, and now I sleep better. Not realizing how it affects communities.
Stick an egg in your vag and
it only costs $300.
Oh, jeez. Don't like panhandlers. Don't give them money. That's just
this is like, I could imagine going to Africa on vacation, and if we had enough money to go to Africa on vacation, I could imagine spending money on the cultural voyeurism of going through a ritual with a witch doctor. That would be a fascinating thing to see. Some people are really gullible, though.
Yeah. I mean, I hope the woman didn't fly to Kenya just for that.
Yeah.
But I kind of suspect that maybe she did. Whatever. You know what, mate? Good for the witch doctor.
A new study's been released in JAMA, it was JAMA Network Open, that found that 800 dietary supplements sold from 2007 to 2016 included unapproved actual drug components, mostly Viagra.
I love that. It's just like, okay, well, what do they mean by that? Viagra.
Viagra is the peanuts of the pill industry. Yep. Like, this may have come in contact with Viagra.
Yeah, it's cheap. It's a great filler. It obviously causes some kind of effect that people will register and attribute to whatever herbal supplement they just took. So it's like, oh, hey, my heart started beating faster and I feel a little bit more energetic and, I'm rock hard. But that's...
that's because I'm healthier now.
I mean, I'm sure it wasn't that much Viagra. I'm sure this was little teeny tiny bits. But the fact that these drugs are being mixed in with stuff that has an active ingredient of a plant leaf doesn't.
Well, 45% of them were marketed for sexual enhancement. So it's a herbal, air quote, herbal supplement for sexual enhancement that is actually just Viagra.
They practically give the stuff away, so I don't blame.
No prescription.
Yeah, it's
no consistent dosing.
It's like having all the benefits of Viagra and then all of the without all the regulation,
right? With all of the fear,
without all the safeguards.
Yeah,
41% of them were for weight loss, and 12% were muscle building. So most of them were for
men,
targeting men. Yeah.
Which is weird because I would think statistically women use more herbal stuff. But in this particular case, Viagra would be a little bit more beneficial.
And what most of them included were various erectile dysfunction drugs. There was also sibutramine, which was in some of the weight loss products. That was removed from the market in 2010 because of cardiovascular risks. Yeah, this is dangerous. Most of the muscle building products had anabolic steroids in them.
This is super dangerous. People think herbal, they think harmless. They think it's going to be echinacea or something. But yeah, you can't trust any of these herbal supplements to be labeled correctly. I say as I pop my folic acid.
Well, folic acid is actually, that's a still not very well regulated part of the market.
Nope. And that could be freaking sugar for all I know.
Yeah, but with the I think the last time we talked about a study looking at the adulteration in herbal supplements, they were finding that a shocking amount of them included filler that was known very common allergens, like walnut.
Oh, yeah.
Walnut, wheat, soy, using that for filler. That's
without
insane.
Labeling it, yeah.
And now
there's, of course, the many, many herbal supplements that don't have any of the listed ingredient actually in the pill.
And I think there's even a lot of studies out there that show even what you're getting out of an herbal supplement isn't actually all that beneficial in a lot of cases. And I thought that with prenatal vitamins, even as I was taking them, and I checked with my doctor, and I was like, is this even... Am I spending $30 a month of my pregnancy?
They're not cheap.
Is this actually doing anything, or is this like mom guilt? Because other than that, I'd never taken any supplements. I don't even take ibuprofen. I just never had. And everything I'd read was like, well, it's kind of up in the air as to whether they're even beneficial. And then you add on top of that the possible detriments from taking them. The
biggest benefit with the herbal or the prenatal vitamins is the folic acid.
The whole point of having, I think that they even push these is for women who are eating nutritionally deficient foods. So they are either starving or they are only able to eat
mac and cheese.
Shut up. That stuff was delicious. And look at the baby it created.
Yeah. I chose mac and cheese. Dude. I didn't have to eat it.
Exactly.
And the concern, the folic acid, concern.
For the average person, for the average woman who in North America, that nutritional deficiency is not an issue, and they're just $30 a month.
Yeah,
just taking it.
Now, folic acid is beneficial in reducing neural tube defects.
Right, and when does
in
that
the first
develop?
Trimester? In the first trimester.
Most people aren't on a folic acid diet,
which is why all cereal products, breads, cereals, all of that, are all enriched with folic acid.
Well, I just managed to convince myself to stop taking half my meds, so that's
unless you're getting organic ones. Yeah.
Well, I think a huge part of it is run it all by your doctor. I think when I'm talking about don't just take a supplement, I'm talking about don't go to the vitamin shop and have some 19-year-old who makes $10 an hour, and I'm making up the scenario. This isn't a real scenario, obviously. Tell you that you should take these 4 dozen things because they'll help you with this or this or this. Your doctor's take folic acid and take the one they recommend. If your doctor's take prenatal vitamins, take prenatal vitamins and take one on the list that they say are good and safe and healthy. I'm talking about more the people who are I saw on TV that I should be taking more blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And just running to a store and picking up whichever one they can find. You have to be careful because it's a racket.
Right.
I mean, if you can tell people they're going to be young and healthy and happier if they take these things, they're going to do it.
And vitamins, there are limited cases. We've mentioned the main one. There's other limited cases where vitamin supplementation might be worthwhile. It should be with the consultation of your doctor, not just something you start doing yourself, because excess quantities of vitamins can be toxic.
As they are now finding with vitamin D.
Uh-huh.
Because, man, they pushed that. Dr. Oz. It's all Dr. Oz's fault.
Oh, even too much vitamin C. It increases your risk of heart attack. Not by a lot, but overdosing on vitamin C routinely, which people who routinely supplement with vitamin C do, it increases your chance of a heart attack. This is stuff where they're saying it's horny goat leaf or whatever it is.
What? Please tell me that's a real thing.
I'm pretty sure horny goat was in the name of it. It's one of those male enhancement supplements of a few years ago you'd find in gas stations.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because that's where you should go. I'm looking at that.
I never bought any of those. I know somebody who did and said that one worked. I'm guessing that one had Viagra in it.
Okay, so what's funny is that horny goat weed is also known as barren wort.
Huh.
So you are both a horny goat and barren.
But that was probably actually Viagra.
And horny goat weed has a picture of a bull on the bottle. This is all sorts of crazy.
Mm-hmm. But what this goes to show, all these studies like this go to show, this needs to be a regulated market.
Yeah,
for sure.
They need to be, at the very least, demonstrating that what they are selling is what is on the label. The labeling standards need to be vastly improved. Inspections to ensure that they're at least producing the product they claim they're producing needs to go up, or even better, require that they prove that it work and demonstrate what the potential complications are, rather than just assuming it's safe because it's fucking herbal. Opium's herbal. And we got the new climate report. The part of the Paris Climate Accord was to have a study done to figure out how bad is this really looking, and the answer is worse than we expected.
There's a shock.
Yeah. So basically, we're going to hit 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030. If we go above that at all, it's going to get really, really, really bad. We're already 1 degree Celsius above pre-industrial levels. And if we're going to be hitting 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels in 11 years, that's nuts.
Yeah, it is. It's also like, what are you going to do about it? Like, it's that kind of news. It's like, okay, we're screwed. If we had listened to all of this stuff 20 years ago, maybe we could have done something, but...
Yeah, now it's like we have something like 6 years to make drastic changes to how things are, which
like,
we couldn't even
and air travel and truck delivery services.
Yeah, we don't
ban semi-autos. Or not semi-autos. We could spend
6 years trying to convince enough people that this is a problem to start making changes, and that wouldn't be enough time, let alone to make the actual changes.
No, because they've been saying this stuff for years. We all know it, and nobody's done anything. Well, they've done a few small things, but
more science isn't gonna convince the people who aren't already convinced.
Takes legislative action, and our legislator is so anti everything science right now that they've signed the check already. We're screwed. So all we can do now is, I don't know what we can do. Not have kids. Oops. Sorry, Kylie. You're gonna have to deal with this.
Yeah. Well,
I suggest start farming in the Arctic.
Assuming and what's crazy with this is, as this continues to get worse, what we're going to be expecting is more frequent extreme droughts, more frequent wildfires, more frequent floods, more food shortages, and more extreme weather. Hurricane Michael was a freak event that started developing off the coast of Nicaragua, turned into a hurricane off the coast of Cancun, and destroyed the Florida Panhandle. That is going to be, that kind of rapid intensification was made possible by 84 degree Fahrenheit water in the Gulf of Mexico in October.
Yeah, sounds nice from a vacation point of view, but
yeah, unless the vacation resorts all get wiped out routinely.
Yeah.
So where do we go when all this happens? When there's hurricanes on the east, wildfires on the west, and everything in between has no water?
And tornadoes.
Or too much
And
water.
tornadoes or too much water.
The Midwest and the entire eastern U.S. is going to flood. The western U.S. is going to dry out and burn.
Well, and it's not like the U.S. is the only one affected. There is nowhere you can go.
Mhm.
This is the new normal.
But this is where we can get without having to.
We haven't reached the new normal.
Oh, we're still amping up to the new normal.
Yeah, realistically, Louisiana will cease to exist.
As it should.
It's already eroding away. They're losing a couple football fields worth of land every year. And that's a combination of sea level rise, stronger storms, and dams blocking the replenishment of the delta. Sea level rise alone will make Florida turn into an island chain. Parts of Alabama and Mississippi, Georgia, the Carolinas, those will just disappear. California won't be able to support 35 million people if they don't have any water.
Yeah. We're actually in a pretty good spot here in Boise.
Yeah, until 20 million Californians move up here and we don't have any water.
Yeah, true. I was just thinking you can move out to the mountains.
We're draining
with the mountain goats.
We're draining the aquifer at 3 times the fill rate already. And we have fires. One of those fires could very easily start burning through town. Bangladesh is at high risk of disappearing from sea level rise and stronger monsoon flooding, coupled with cyclones hitting them and contributing to wiping out the country. That's 125 million people who may not have a country. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is ugly.
Our kids will just barely be adults, right? 20 years? Isn't that what they said?
Yeah.
20,
No, in 11 years.
20, 30 something.
2030, our kids will be
In middle school?
they'll reach middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of me wonders if some of this right-wing anti-immigrant bullshit is in preparation for this.
God,
Understanding
no.
of a lack
Nobody,
of,
that wouldn't,
Yeah.
that would denote some kind of foresight.
Oh, I'm not saying from the idiots that are foaming at the mouth. I'm talking about the people that are riling them up.
the people in power. I wouldn't dismiss that idea of them knowing that climate change is an issue, knowing it's something they likely won't have to deal with because they're all a bajillion years old, but also understanding that it's going to affect the country.
And I'm thinking
And
more
it's a lot
specifically for
easier.
Europe. Right-wing
yeah.
Europeans not wanting more a flood of people coming up from Africa and the Middle East.
Yeah.
Fleeing climate change.
No, it's a good point.
For the one silver lining, though, Britain is having amazing wine years.
I heard that. It's like the best, not just Britain, but Europe in general, like the Champagne region. It's supposed to be the best champagne year, like a good chunk of Europe. But yeah, the Champagne region is supposed to be producing the best champagne the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And they anticipate it like continuing on because it's warmer longer and
Well, at least we'll all be nice and blitzed
Right?
when the end comes.
Well,
silver linings.
France has each wine region is centered on what the climate is like in that region. And it's specific to that. So the warmer areas grow certain wines and the cooler areas grow certain wines. But when you have irrigation, you can do like Walla Walla and California. Tons of sun, lots of warm weather, and you irrigate it and you can grow any wine you want. It's easy. As it continues to warm up in France, it's just going to get easy as long as they have water. Yeah. Ah, man. All right. We are out of time. Mary, what do you have going on?
I have the second Tuesday. Oh shoot. I hope I get this right. Second Tuesday in November. I'm doing cool birthday party at Liquid. If anyone wants to come. Cool birthday. Cool birthday.
Second
birthday.
Second Wednesday?
Second Tuesday.
Tuesday. So the
Second
11th.
Tuesday. I'm almost certain.
That's December. Whoops.
In
November. The
November.
13th.
I'm also doing the ex-Mormon show again, which was did you guys go last time?
Mm-mm.
No.
That thing was a riot. It was totally sold out.
I wanted to go, but
it was one of the best shows I've ever done, and that is February 12th.
all right. We should definitely go.
But that is a good one. It was a lot of ex-Mormons, but it was just a lot of, people like us who, but yeah, Crystal Moore puts that show on and she killed it last time. It was
nice.
It was great.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, Mary, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Hey.
And Lauren, thank you for taking care of Kylie and actually participating through most of the entire thing.
Yeah, that's
Great
a
job.
first in a couple of weeks.
You're doing a great job, Lauren.
Yay, thank you.
And listeners, remember, not all those who wander are lost. Thank you for listening to another episode of Atheist Nomads. You can find show notes and contact information at atheistnomads.com. Follow us on Twitter at Atheist Nomads and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Atheist Nomads. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcatcher of choice. And while you're there, feel free to leave us a review. Theme music is courtesy of Sturdy Fred. Until next time, this has been the Atheist Nomads.